Alright, y'all. I know the game ended in a couple hours ago, but I'm gonna tell y'all why Georgia should still make the college football playoff. In fact, screw college football playoff. I think Georgia still should be number one. Here's why. They won 29 straight games. They never lost a game in over 2 years. So Georgia, that alone should make the playoffs. But if you look at the teams that are beneath them, Michigan, no. Just no. They barely beat Maryland, for crying out loud. Washington, they won last night, but no. They haven't played nobody. And when they do play somebody, they barely win. Florida State, first of all, they don't got their quarterback. Second of all, no. They nearly lost to Florida. You got Oregon. They're out. You got Ohio State. They're out. Texas. No. I think Texas will make the playoffs, but not over Georgia. They're not replacing Georgia. I'm sorry, they're not replacing Georgia. Other than that Bama game, Texas nearly lost to Kansas State. They did lose to Oklahoma. And Bama, obviously they beat Georgia. And they've beat all these other teams. But they're not replacing Georgia. And you gotta look at it this way. It's the top 4 college football teams. Not just if you lose, you out. In fact, y'all remember this. The last time Georgia lost to Bama in the SEC championship game, you want to know who made the playoffs? Georgia. You want to know who won the national championship game? Georgia. The writing's on the wall. And I got people saying how, no man, Georgia lost, they out. Do y'all even know what y'all talking about? Because if that was a true statement, then why was Georgia 1 win away from 30 straight wins? You can't sit there and tell me that Georgia does not deserve to be in the playoffs. Alright? There's no way that they're not making the playoffs after 1 loss. Georgia never tasted a loss in over 2 years. Last time Georgia lost a game was in the 2021 SEC championship game. Georgia never lost since then. It's been win after win. In fact, that same year, they beat the team that beat them in the national championship game. So Georgia 100% should make the playoffs. Look, and I'm an LSU fan and a Tulane fan. Fortunately, Tulane lost today. I'm still pretty sad about that. But at the end of the day, I keep it real. I'm not one of these dumb fans that look at it and say, oh, you lost, you out. That's not who I am. I keep it real. And as somebody who was rooting for Georgia to lose most of the time this year so LSU can have a better shot, which never happened. In fact, the top four teams remain the same for 10 straight weeks. I don't see a world where Georgia does not get in. Because who should replace them? Ohio State? No. They lost to Michigan. No. Oregon? No, they already got 2 losses versus the same team. Texas. However, I do think Texas is making the playoffs. They're not replacing Georgia. Bama. Yes, they beat Georgia, but we're talking about a team who struggled with South Florida, struggled with Ole Miss, struggled with Mississippi State, struggled with lost to Texas, struggled with Arkansas, barely beat LSU's backup, struggled with Auburn. It took a miracle for them to win. I think Bama might get into the playoffs, but Georgia ain't going nowhere. So if you're a Georgia fan that somehow is watching this video, don't be worried. Do not be worried. And if you miss the playoffs, you can't blame yourselves, because you're 12-1. That was your first loss in over 2 years. 2 years and 13 days or something. Some shit. Like, Georgia is 12-1 now. But at the end of the day, I still don't see a world where Georgia doesn't get in. I'm sorry. Bama was just a better team today. Losses are going to happen. You remember, I believe, the year after LSU won the national championship game, we lost like every single person. And we lost, I think we only won like 5 games. That's basically, like, if Georgia loses 2 games, then that's a wrap for their season. But losses are going to happen. So, I don't see a world where Georgia does not get in. You want to know my top 4 teams? Here they are. Georgia as my 1. I got Michigan at number 2. Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Texas 3, and Bama 4. Those are my 4 college football playoff teams. So I think the first round of the college football playoff, I think Georgia hosts Bama again, and I think Michigan hosts Texas. But we're going to see tomorrow morning, maybe. I'm having my Pelicans versus Bulls recap out. By the way, last thing, why does the NBA have to have back-to-backs? What's the point of back-to-backs? It's an unfair advantage for the other team. But whatever, I'm sick of the NBA sometimes. But yeah, that's the video. Georgia, they're making the playoffs. If you think they're not making the playoffs, then you're smoking crack. Alright, I'm out. See you tomorrow for my Saints Lions live reaction, my Pelicans recap, and go check out the Who Dat Censor. Bye.